Dudes to Dads is a podcast to help men understand and navigate the transition of being a single dude into a family man. How do we make sense of it all? Well, we probably won't be able to, but let's go ahead and have some fun trying. And we are back.
We are back.
I'm Jason Kreidman.
I'm Alan Bush.
And this is Dudes to Dads, episode 124.
124.
The big 124. Right. Is there anything significant about 124?
Dude, if you make it that far ever in anything almost.
Yeah, 124 degrees?
Of what?
I don't know. I'm just saying how hot it is.
Oh, yeah, that's a lot.
That's extreme.
Yeah. It's extreme in an age.
Yeah.
124 years? That'd be ridiculous.
124 episodes, and we've got a doozy today.
Yeah?
Yeah, I haven't used that word to describe an episode.
No, you haven't.
Sibling rivalry. Totally.
Yeah.
Reducing conflict between kids.
Okay.
So, no doubt, I can talk about this one, that kids yelling at each other and fighting can be a big cause of anxiety and stress for parents.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, firsthand experience. I'm talking here.
Someone I was discussing having kids, they said you should have 3. I'm not saying you should have 3. I'm saying that because there's always like 2 can gang up on the other, or there's always someone that they have there.
I was one of 3, so I don't know, but I'll get into my experience with it. With any misbehavior though, there's always going to be a root of the problem, and that probably is what needs to be addressed. It's like, why is this happening? Does one child feel the other is favored? Is one child simply just being selfish?
Yeah.
Is there different expectations put on different children? Or are the same expectations put on 2 different aged kids?
Yeah.
Or even gender?
Yeah, for sure.
Where there could be 2 different things.
No, yeah. I do feel like, and you can get into this, and again, this is just my theory, the older kid gets the brunt of a lot of stuff because you're new.
Could be.
And it could be also you get more spoiled in some weird way.
We're going to talk about that.
Yeah, it could be either one. So I could see both of these
I'm going to say
happening.
that all of the things we talked about are true.
Yeah.
D. Yeah. How about you? I mean, you had a sibling.
Yeah.
Was there sibling rivalry
2 siblings,
in your house?
actually.
That's right.
I had an older brother who was not older than me. He was younger than me. And I was the oldest, so then I think about it. But I didn't grow up with them a lot. So, when I was a kid, I was kind of an only child growing up for a long time.
So they were in a different house?
Yeah, I had a half brother and a half sister. My half sister is 16 years apart from me, 16 and a half years. So by the time she was 2,
that's not a rivalry.
No, I was gone. So she really, I wasn't involved with her because I was going to college and that type of stuff. So I didn't grow up with sibling rivalry. I really didn't grow up with siblings until I was in my late teens, really.
Okay.
So it wasn't
kind of
really,
over it by then.
Yeah, by then I was just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a whole different perspective on siblings. So yeah, when you grow up with them inside your house all the time, that's a whole different
perspective. So I have 2 older sisters.
Right.
So they were 4 and 5 years older. And so, it's funny. I remember arguing with my middle sister quite a bit. My older sister, I did not argue as much with. She just didn't.
She didn't care.
She didn't bother me as much. Right. Versus the middle one, we argued quite a bit, and then they argued tremendously.
Right.
So I actually watched them argue like ridiculous.
Yeah. So you learn techniques on how to argue.
I mean, I would I'm out of this one. Like I'll just watch. And I was young. I was a lot younger. I mean, being 4 and 5 years younger. I mean, you think about like they're 7 years old. I'm 2, or I'm 3 and 2, or whatever the difference is.
Yeah.
So it's like there was quite a bit of difference. So. Yeah. I think when we have more than one child, we think that we're treating them the same.
Sure.
But I think that's impossible to do that. When it's only one, like they get all the attention, and then a second one comes along, and it's different. And I think, like you said, if there's 3, maybe the attention gets even further reduced.
Yeah.
And so that, let's say the one that was there for a while by themselves, all of a sudden now has 2 other ones that are there, and it's like,
maybe they see. I don't know. I feel like I guess if you have 3, you maybe see the perspective from the outsider's point of view at some point in time, because maybe they're, like you said, you and your sisters were arguing. You're going, I'm out of this one.
Yeah.
You like probably learned very early, like, oh wow, I don't want to go that far.
Well, they were also being two girls, I mean, they were arguing about things that I didn't care about.
Sure.
You know, like, I mean, they would argue about clothing like you wouldn't believe. You know, I mean, it just, I didn't care. You know, I was a young little boy. I was like, I did not care about any of that stuff. So I didn't relate at all, and certainly wasn't going to get in the middle of that. You know, that cat fight.
Right.
So I think there's also expectations with age, you know, and so what I mean by that is, you know, you could start implementing something with your children. I'll give you an example, and what brought this on, or what I was thinking about was, let's say like responsibilities around the house. You know, when let's just say as an example, we start, you know, they're going to take out the trash. You know, and my son is 7 and my daughter is 5, you know, or whatever. And their job is to take out the trash. Well, maybe I'd give it to my son, but not my daughter. But if you give it to both of them, like my son didn't have that at age 5.
Right.
You know, all of a sudden they're both expected to do something because he is now of age to be able to do it. And so I'm saying, like, unless you're conscious of that, you say, okay, you know, you guys need to, you know, clean your dishes, and she's 3, he's 5, and we're like, you know, why aren't you bringing your dish to the, you know, like just with another episode that we were talking about, like, we expect, and I'm totally guilty of this, is where you treat them equal because you want to treat them equally, but they're not. There could be different ages, and truthfully different capabilities depending on their skills and their mind and everything else. So I think, you know, we have good intentions, but it's just really, really hard to do, you know? And so, you know, my purpose with kind of explaining this and doing this is that, you know, when people grow up in the same environment, I think it is difficult to treat them equally. Like, we think, oh, well, they grew up in the same household, you know, like me and myself and my sisters, like, you know, well, they all grew up in the same household with the same parents and the same environment. Well, yeah, but you actually are treated differently.
You are. You know, and that's a really good point. It's like, you want to treat them the same because they're you know, in part of your household, but you're right. There's very distinct differences between the two, even if there's just a year apart.
Well, and even more is add the idea of gender.
And gender. So exactly.
A boy may be totally, you know, treated differently than a girl. And it's easy to happen. You just might not be mindful of it. It is something, you know, you can allow, you know, the stereotype, but, you know, say you allow your son to date, you know, as the dad, I'm saying like, well, no, you can date, but she can't, you know, and it's like based on a certain age, and there's just different rules and stuff. And so, you know, of course too, my sisters being older, you know, did things first. And so either got in trouble, didn't get in trouble, whatever, and sort of, you know, break the ice and break the mold. So that when I all of a sudden came along 4 years later, it was like, whatever. You know, like, we've already been through that. Like, I don't want to deal with that. Go ahead. Just have, you know, do what you're going to do, you know, whatever. So you know, it totally, birth order, ages, it all has a lot to do with that. And I think that affects how the children deal with each other. You know, because if you're feeling like, well, mom or dad is treating them this way, and that may, you know, be upset, and you have some animosity, you have some jealousy, you have, there's a lot of feelings that can come up as a result of that. It may not even be the sibling's fault. You know,
for sure.
It's the parent fault, or how they're treated in the family, or whatever. You know, it's like, so
how do you account for all that?
I don't know.
You don't.
I've got a couple tips.
Okay, some tips.
There's some experts on this. So these are a couple ways to reduce conflict. Okay. And I think, and some, these are from experience too. I mean, I'm not just talking like a rule list that I saw on the internet. This is some things that actually happened in my house. And, giving a lot of credit to my wife who did this. You know, she has a brother who's only 11 months different. And so they were brought up very, very close and have always been close as a result of that. And so I think that was something when our children were born and we had more than one child, she was really instrumental in making sure that conflict was reduced. You know, it was a very conscious thing. Like, so that's why I'm going to go over some of those things. So the first thing is have them make friends before the other one is even born. So when you have an older child, and like, I can only, you know, talk from my case. My son was 2 and then my daughter was born. You make the older child very familiar with the unborn baby. Like, this is your little sister, or this is your little brother. They get to see the pictures of mom. They get to touch the stomach. They get, you know, all this stuff about, like, you get to be the big brother.
Yeah.
You get to be the big sister. And it almost like, saying like, this is going to be your best friend, and like saying all of those things. Got to be careful how much you set up expectations. But at the same time, the baby comes with the excitement of the sibling versus who's this person invading my territory.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that can happen with pets too. Like if you have a pet and then all of a sudden you bring a baby home and the pet's pissed off. I mean, that happens, Right. So I think making the child feel very safe and friendly prior to the next child being born.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do that with twins. But
different experience.
Yeah, different experience. But I don't know how much rivalry there is with that. Like you always hear about twins being so close.
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure there is some rivalry just because
but they have that connection.
Completely different personalities. But there's a different connection they have. Generally.
And so the number 2 is have the older child feel important. So this kind of, it piggybacks onto the first one, but give them some roles and some jobs. And like, as an example, one of the examples might be, when people are giving the babies gifts, maybe the older child gets to open them.
Yeah.
Or gets to like participate in that. Or one of the things my wife did, which was great, was got my son a present from the baby. So I think he got like a scooter or something, and it was from his little sister.
Funny, yeah.
And so
she has her own credit card in there.
Yeah. So immediately though, it's like, hey, this is from your sister. She got you. I mean, he doesn't know,
Right.
And like from the beginning, like, making it such a big deal that he is the bigger brother and that it's really important, his role and how he deals, how he's going to interact. It's like how important that was.
Yeah.
And so, my wife did that, which was great. I mean, I could see how that affected him.
Yeah.
He was excited as all heck to have a little sister.
Sure.
And that wasn't just because of nothing. I mean, that was because we made it exciting, or she made it exciting that she's having, he's going to have a little sister.
Yeah. I think my mom tried to curtail anything that came with my sister at the time because I was 16 or something, or, it made me laugh almost because I'm like, I don't care. Like, I'm going to be out of the house pretty soon,
Right.
So she was, I love her, my mom, for being that way, but it literally made me laugh. I was like, nah, I don't really care. Like, I want the attention away from me.
Appreciate the effort.
Yeah. I want the attention away from me. Trust me. I was just going to borrow your car and then go to college. That's all I really want this to happen at this point.
No, that's funny. Yeah. Yeah. I think so. There obviously the age discrepancy has some bearing that,
for me, it was,
and I wonder what that is. Like, if you have an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
And then you have then all of a sudden the 8-year-old is able to take care of the younger child.
Right. Yeah.
So then, they have a role
and shared responsibility and that type of stuff. So it's a different thing.
Yeah. That's a little bit different. I think, and I would imagine, I'm just taking an assumption here, that the rivalry reduces as the ages get larger apart.
Sure. Yeah.
Except maybe twins. I think the twin, you don't see that as much. But
Right.
So in number 3, stress the importance of the family. So in addition to all these other things, using words like we are a team, we work together, we help each other, we're a family, that kind of stuff, that these are words that the child, the older one especially, should hear. And then the younger one, as they understand it, is like about, hearing those kinds of things consistently, that we are a team and we're together and it's all of us.
Right.
And same thing as like, you and your brother, or you and your sister, or whatever, like you guys are a team. We're all in this together. We help each other. We look out for each other. Like that kind of mentality is really, really important. So, and that happened in our house. My wife did that. And I saw that as well, where it's like, they're together, you have to have their individuality, but basically like, hey, you look out for each other.
Yeah.
And doing that.
Right.
Number 4, establish rules of the house. And the reason I say this is because, parents will often get upset because children are breaking rules. The problem is that they've may have not clearly established what those rules are.
Right.
So that's where I'm saying that is like, you really need to clearly establish what are the rules of the house.
Yeah.
And, for example, we must respect each other at all times. Now, what does that mean when you're little? no hitting, no kicking, no biting, you yelling, whatever it is. If yelling is a rule, be sure it's a rule that you're not breaking.
Right.
That's just a little note there. That,
Sure.
Because that's the case too. Is like we tell our kids, hey, don't do this. Don't yell at your brother. Don't yell at your sister. And then we are yelling at our child.
Right. Yeah.
So
breaking your own rules.
Yeah, it doesn't help very much.
Right.
So that's really important. Number 5, never compare your children in front of them. Yeah, that's a big one. So to say that one is better or worse at something is just not helpful.
Right.
It's horrible. So as an example, your brother never does that.
Right.
Your sister is really good at that. Why aren't you that good at that? Or whatever. Not something that you ever want to say.
Right.
So that, just keep that in mind. Number 6, allow them to solve their own disagreements. If anyone's getting hurt, you don't want to just leave it. I mean, you may have to intervene. But I know in my family, like if one of my children comes to me complaining about the other, which certainly happens.
Sure.
I often will say or ask, hey, so what did your brother or sister say when you told them about that? Or, hey, did you talk to your sister about that? Or did you ask them nicely?
Yeah.
What did you say? This is typically followed up because they'll say, yes, I did that. Typically followed up with, I have complete confidence that you guys can work this out and find a solution that works for both of you. That is said a lot in our house because they will squabble and do whatever. Like, Dad, Mom, da, 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 or he did this and she did whatever.
Yeah.
I know you guys can figure it out. Instead of yelling and say, stop yelling, stop fighting. But hey, guys, sounds like something's not going as you guys would want. I'm pretty confident you guys can figure this one out.
Right.
That's how I intervene and I leave it up to them to solve the problem. And guess what? 90-something% of the time they do.
Yeah.
You just, you let it go. And unless, there's some, like I said, there can't be any physical contact.
Yeah, exactly. Can't put their martial arts training to use and start sparring.
No. I can't say. They may listen. Number 7, make all children your favorite. So my mom was really good at this, that if you ask each one of both or myself and my sisters and asked who was mom's favorite, we will all say ourselves.
Sure.
That's a great job by a parent for each kid to think that they are the favorite. Yeah. Even though I know I'm the favorite.
Yeah, of course.
That's good parenting right there.
Yeah.
And and I don't know even exactly how that's done other than like, I can say, well, you're my favorite son and you're my favorite daughter, or you were my firstborn. You're so special.
My mother does that because, there's a big distinction between the ages, but also the two genders. My mom has the daughter.
Right.
And I have sisters. So you're my favorite son. Yeah, of course I am. The only son you have.
Right.
And she's your favorite daughter. And I get that.
Right.
And that's great. I think it's great.
No, yeah. You do have to make the child feel special in that way. And that's good to do. So, and then number 8, be empathetic and listen. So, listen to your kids and understand and be empathetic about how they feel. So, when you're empathetic, you're going to get a better opportunity, I should say, to learn about what's troubling them and figuring out a way to fix it. They will talk, they'll maybe discuss something with you and you have to listen. It's a reality that, they might squabble and there could be a good reason for that. Sure. Just discounting anything that they say at any time. Now, having said that, which I just said the other one, when they're coming to me whining about the other one,
right.
That's not a good time for that. Right. I say, hey, you're going to solve the problem. But, at a separate time, whether it may be, when they're going to sleep or something, we can often have real serious conversation about what's going on?
Sure.
Like, what is it that's bothering you? And then you figure, okay, well, so how can we, how could we improve that?
Yeah, if they're genuinely unhappy about something versus just slightly annoyed at that moment,
right?
It could be a different thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's a whole other episode. Oh, I feel another episode coming on about teaching them how to communicate with each other. What is a way that you could approach your brother about this?
Yeah.
Or what is a way that you could talk to your sister about this? It's the same thing with friends and whatever. So I think these are important skills that they lend themselves to other relationships too. But definitely from a sibling rivalry standpoint, it can be quite powerful.
Yeah.
Probably the biggest takeaway is that understanding that they can solve the problems often by themselves.
Yeah.
And when they learn to do that, it builds upon itself. So it's like, you're not the one who's always jumping in the middle and, keeping them at bay and, doing all these kinds of things when you allow them to actually solve the problem.
Yeah.
And facilitate it if you have to.
Yeah.
So, anything else? That was a quick one.
No, that was a good one though. I like that. I like those succinct and really good, valuable tips.
Yeah. So sibling rivalry. What if people have any tips or suggestions or thoughts or raves? They just want to say how wonderful we are,
or want to talk bad about their siblings.
Yeah. Well, they can.
Or good about their siblings.
Yeah, just to get it out.
Yeah, exactly.
They just want to get it out. What could they do?
They could email us, podcast@dudesadads.com. They can also hit us up on Twitter, Dudesadads. And they can also hit us up on Facebook, Dudesadads.com. And also go to and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Dad University, and go to iTunes and Stitcher. iTunes will become Apple Podcasts, I believe. And then leave some reviews, 5 stars preferably, and some comments would be welcome, even if it's just to say hi.
Wow, that was thorough.
Yeah.
How do you remember
all that stuff? I don't know. I've been doing it for 125 episodes or whatever it's been.
124.
124.
Yeah. Did we scratch an episode maybe? There probably is 125.
I think there's probably
130 in there.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's probably a few scrapped ones.
Yeah.
The lost episodes.
Yeah, maybe. Ooh, that's a good one. Maybe some lost episodes with some. We did the bloopers outtake the one time.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you again, Alan, as always.
Absolutely.
And we will see you next week.
See you next time.